dancing since the age of 2. I was actually still in diapers when I was in my first dance class. And I've been a dancer my whole life, so I've done everything from tap, jazz, ballet, hip-hop, everything. And I did it all throughout high school. I was on my college dance team. And then something that you know and love to do for all those years, obviously you can't just stop, right? So I'm now actually currently a dance teacher as well. So I always admired my dance teachers, and now I knew I wanted to give back to some of the little girls in the town. So so now I'm a dance teacher, and I kind of teach dance a couple times a week.
That's awesome. What was it about dancing, I'm curious, that made you love it so much as a kid?
You know what, that's a really good question. I think I'll tell you this, I had a lot of energy when I was little. I had a lot of energy, and I always
You still do, it seems.
I do, you're right. And I always found myself, and my mom always told me, I would always be flipping and jumping and twirling all over the kitchen. So she goes, all right, we're taking Lindsay, we're putting her in dance. And I think it was just something that I could have, kind of to myself. It was good, athletically, right? So it kind of keeps you in good shape. The flexibility, the strength, the grace, right? And I think it just had the opportunity to meet new people and take fun classes and do all these unique things. So I've been a dancer my whole life, and then started Tipsy Tappers about a year and a half ago. And that was a really awesome experience. And
What's Tipsy Tappers?
I was going to say, we can get more into that if you want. But
we noticed the shirt.
So Tipsy Tapper, so it's like wine and paint, but it's wine and tap dancing, right? So it's a little spin. Instead of a paintbrush, we have our tap shoes, which is awesome. And like I said, we started this about a year and a half ago. And one of my friends actually came to me and said, Lindsay, it has been a bucket list item of mine to take a tap class. She goes, I know you're a dancer. I know you teach tap. She goes, can we do it? And I thought, I go, absolutely we can. I go, why wouldn't we? And I said, not only bring tap shoes, but I said, bring some wine, right? Because whenever you have some wine, it loosens you up, it makes you feel a little bit more confident. And the girls had a great time, and they had such positive reviews, such good things to say. And then now we've been doing it ever since, and we have a class a month. So
where is it based out of?
It's fun. We're in Arlington, Virginia, kind of like right off of Route 50, kind of like what we were talking about.
Yep.
So
right next to the light bridge, sort of going to either Roslyn or.
Yeah, you got it. The light bridge. I love those light bridges.
Yeah.
So we have it there. Like I said, we have one class a month, and then people have also scheduled like private classes and dance sessions as well if they have a birthday party or a group of girls who want to do it or anything like that. So a lot of the information can be found tipsytappers.com for anyone who's kind of crazy.
Is there an age range restriction, or is it just like, hey, 2 years old, go ahead?
Well, if you're drinking, then you have to be of age. But we don't provide any of the alcohol.
That's why you said bring alcohol.
Correct.
But I'm assuming if you have a private event,
Correct. So I just provide the tapping and the fun and the sassy smiles, and then they provide the alcohol if they want. You don't need to.
And as a collective,
you provide a lot of energy. Yes, exactly.
The energy as a collective.
That's
awesome.
I was going to say, Benji, you want to?
Oh no, I'm actually curious about the juggling.
Oh my goodness! All right. So we're gonna save the magicians for the end because they're gonna surprise us. That's what magicians do.
Yes.
So I got into juggling when I was a similar age. I don't have any jugglers in the family other than me, but I do now because I now have nephews, but I did not at the time. So I went to a drama camp as a kid, and basically everybody did it. I grew up in a very small town, like 10,000 people lived there, and drama camp was the only camp in town, and it was the best camp in town, so that's where I went. And every afternoon we would practice for the play, and I really enjoyed the performing aspect. But in the mornings, they had workshops. And I was always drawn to the circus arts workshop, but unlike you, I was scared to tumble and go upside down at all. And that was a big part of circus arts workshop, was the tumbling and all the stuff I was scared of. But the juggling, I could do with my feet firmly planted on the ground.
Not a lot of risk.
Exactly. I was not a risk-taking child. So I did a lot of juggling. I got pretty darn good at it, and the people who ran the class taught me how to pass clubs, which was a big sort of milestone, because when you can pass clubs, you can juggle with other jugglers. And
so what does that mean? So from
it
a
becomes
non-juggler,
social.
what does that mean? Okay.
That's a good
To
question.
the layman.
It means, so when you, like, typical juggling is with 3 objects, right?
Okay. Yep.
So you often start with 3 balls, and that's what I did.
Okay.
And
You start with the balls or the cloths?
I started with the balls.
Okay.
Oh.
Some people start with the cloths. It is a different motion with the cloths because you have to pull it all the way through the air.
Okay.
Because if you throw a cloth, it just stays
Correct.
right there, you know. But with the balls, you actually throw it, so it's a little bit of a different motion. I started with the balls because that's the way I was taught, and I still teach people that way. But after you learn how to juggle 3 balls, then you can move on to clubs, or otherwise known as juggling pins.
Okay.
And they're elongated and they rotate, and you attempt to catch the handle of the club every time. Usually flipping it with 1 rotation, catching the handle, and it's a little more movement in the pattern, which catches the eye. And then passing clubs means that each juggler has 6 clubs. I mean, no. Each juggler has 3 clubs. There are a total of 6 clubs. And you pass the clubs back and forth, thus creating a passing pattern.
And do you feel a rhythm when you're passing it to the other person, and then when they might mess up and you have to like stop the passing? Or
Yeah,
you have to-
absolutely. There's
Have to
a
be
huge
synchronized.
rhythm. The rhythm is extremely important. And in fact, the moment that you get a new trick is usually, at least for me, the moment that you feel the rhythm. So it's
Yes.
similar to dancing in that way. It's events happening across time.
Yeah. Growing and
Yeah,
advancing in your talent, right?
exactly. And as you advance in your talent, it starts to feel slower. Like the juggling pattern actually starts to feel slower.
Yeah.
Just like perhaps the tap pattern
And then I'm
that
just
starts to feel
every time
slower.
you throw, it's like 1, 2, all right, next one,
Yeah.
all right, next one, always. But you're moving faster just because you're conditioned to it.
Well, you're not even
I'm-
moving faster, you're just seeing the space that's there. It's like there's already space there that you didn't know was there. Because when you first learn, you feel very rushed to catch all 3 balls. And you're actually
Yes.
trying to. A lot of first time jugglers,
Yeah.
they actually go faster than gravity. They're not going too slow, they're going too fast. Because they think that they need to throw more frequently than they actually need to keep 3 balls up in the air.
Yep. Fair enough.
So when you do it more, you see the space in between, and then you see where you can raise your leg and throw the club under the leg, and then you see a spot where you can do a double spin, or something, So you see a lot more of the space. It's almost like a jar that's full of marbles and it looks full, and then you
Yeah.
pour the sand in, and then you're like, oh, that's really full. And then you pour the water in, and you're like, oh, that's really, really full.
Yeah.
And then you can pour actually pure alcohol in, and then it's even fuller, and you don't overflow it. So there's a lot more space in your pattern than you initially realize. And that's part of what I love about juggling, and that's why I keep doing it. It's almost like you're creating time. I wish I could do it in my real life, create more time. I'm not as good at that.
Well, I guess it's just organizing your time.
Right,
Just like
right.
marbles and all that.
I think
There you
you
go.
hit the nail on the head. That is very difficult for
Do
me.
you have any juggling classes available for anyone, or I'm assuming
you can
tweak your
certainly
knowledge.
hire me to teach a juggling class. I'm most commonly hired to perform at birthday parties as the Jazzy Juggler, or events. I recently juggled at La Bella Strada, which is an event in Del Rey, Alexandria.
Okay.
And yeah, I have been hired by offices to teach all of the office people how to juggle so that they can take productive breaks throughout their work. Because juggling keeps your mind going while you take a break, but it's totally different than office work. So it's a nice break.
Take your mind off something else when you're just doing something.
Exactly. Now, speaking of taking your mind off something
go
else, let's move on to the magicians who help us take our mind off of.
Indeed.
The old guy at the
Let's use
table.
misdirection.
Let's start with the old guy.
Yeah.
Go.
Age before beauty.
We've already had
Not
beauty.
that you don't have both.
Oh, no. No, I'm only half a magician. I'm missing my hair. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was so important.
I'm afraid it is.
How did you get
Especially
into
if you want to pull one out of a hat. It's really rather complex. When I was preschool age, my parents took me out to a little carnival. Speaking of small towns, 3,000.
Oh, wow.
The movie theater was the only thing to do, that in the swimming pool, that we had in town. So, okay, we went out to the carnival when it came in. On the sideshow, wasn't permitted to go in, but they had the Barker outside, so good.
Yeah.
Poker, as more commonly known. And they had a magician on the sideshow. I liked it. As it happened, he moved into town a few years later, had a son my age, got to know him. Around about the age of 10, I was seeing him perform a little bit, and I thought that would be something neat to do. Story you're probably familiar with. Parents gave me a magic kit. Yeah. That got me started, only there was one thing that had a bunch of hoops that I felt was broken, and I never could quite do that.
The rings?
The rings,
Oh dear.
yes.
It takes skill to do those rings, but
It does, it does.
Sounds like a
First look
common
at 'em.
experience.
But now I have, I don't know how many sets of them, and I do perform with them now. We start out with things that way. I've been in it ever since, a little bit of off and on. Had to set them aside to get a little bit of education, you know. It was a down period in my life, as you can imagine. Since then, I found that I'm more into the administrative end, if you will, of magic and the creative end of it than performance itself.
Interesting. How
And,
does that work?
well,
Does that mean like you create the magic tricks? How does that?
sometimes I do that. Sometimes I just coach other people to help them improve their acts and to come up with an act at times. Some of the major magic competitions I've been one of the judges for. I had one student who I put on stage in Las Vegas at the age of 12. So it's
Who was
possible. You wouldn't know him. He's since dropped out of magic.
he's out. He's no longer.
That's right. We don't even talk about him.
Penn and Teller, right? What are
No, he's not
That's-
going to
those
go
are
in
pretty
front of Penn and
famous.
Teller. But actually,
There was a very young kid who did do Penn and Teller. And,
oh yeah.
yes.
Yes, well, this was many years ago. That person is now in his 30s, I would guess.
Wonderful.
So, and he decided to go into, I believe, medicine, if I remember correctly.
Work in modern magic, I got it.
Right. But it's not just get up there and let's try to do a trick. It's let's be entertaining. Let's understand what all is happening around us. One of the students I had decided he did not want to be a magician, but he loved theater. He loved what he was learning in magic, which included theatrical lighting. Now, or at least last I heard from him, and it's been a number of years, he was doing theatrical lighting for the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra, Bette Midler, and Nine Inch Nails, and other groups like that.
That's quite a repertoire. I love the breadth. With,
You
what
have
people
to,
do.
and I think you would agree.
Yeah.
Magic is theater.
Absolutely.
Very much so.
Yes.
Houdini does say that a magician is an actor playing the role of a magician, which
Yes.
does mind blow your mind, but yeah, it's weird like that.
It's a fun thing to do.
We're all
Locally,
involved with
since
performing arts. Yeah.
Since you were discussing learning magic, I do teach magic classes every once in a while. The ones I teach in groups are all beginners classes. And it's oriented toward smaller kids,
Yeah.
as you can imagine.
Children who want to get in, because when you first arrive, you come a little bit later. But
Yes.
I'm curious to hear about what it's like to teach a group of small kids magic, because it involves very fine-tuned, motor skills and patience.
It
and
requires
practice.
an awful lot of patience. Don't always have that.
I can relate.
It requires a little bit of imagination to make it appealing to them and to make it easy for them as well. Sometimes you want to teach them something that is not quite so easy. One of the tricks I learned for doing that is you don't tell them that it's hard.
Okay, that makes sense. Interesting.
There is a book out, actually 2 volumes out, written by Bill Tarr. You may know the books I refer to. Apparently not, but that's okay. And in it
I'm
he...
listening to Rain, I'm sorry.
All right, that's
Right?
okay, that's okay. In it he says, this is easy, this is medium, this is hard, and everything is kind of graded that way.
Huh.
When people are reading that and just starting out in magic, I tell them ignore that. Treat it all as easy. And truth be, what is easy for one person is difficult for another, vice versa.
It's true.
Ask me to tap, I couldn't do it.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny. I feel like I can relate to you regard by
As a fellow performer.
yeah,
Yes.
and when you're teaching and helping someone and you say, okay, this is a really difficult tap step.
Yes.
Their eye, you can see in their eyes the fear.
I'm
like,
going to die.
yeah,
Right.
like they're automatically not going to get it. But if I say this
Exactly.
is the easiest tap step and still teach them
The same thing.
thing,
Yeah.
their confidence is like, okay, yeah, I can do it, right? So it's I can relate in a little bit of a sense where it's kind of mind out over matter, right? If
Truly.
you think you can do it, you can do it. So
There is a lot of that. Yeah, and they've done educational studies where they've told the teachers that they told half the teachers that the class they're getting is gifted and talented,
Yep.
and the other half of the teachers aren't told anything.
Yes.
And the teachers who think their class is gifted and talented,
Yeah.
even though it's from the same exact population,
Yeah.
they wind up getting much better results from their students,
Yeah.
just because the teachers think the students can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So Ben,
Oh dear.
Your turn.
And now I'm on the spotlight.
yeah.
Well,
yeah, how did you
okay.
become a magician?
Well, okay. So I guess I'm gonna have to tell you guys a little bit about my background, right? It's very rainy.
I
Yes.
know. Well,
That was my background, very much so.
I thought that was a
I would
different
go-
type of tapping.
Well, no, I was just going. That's what I usually start off when I open
Yeah.
my show. I start saying I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my background, and then I say, oh, it's the red curtains or something. So no one got that in the
I
little
get it.
preview.
now.
There
I
you go.
get it.
But anyways, I didn't. So my experience and history of magic is very different from yours, honestly. I know that most magicians from your time, I will have to phrase it, learn from books, mainly love books. I cannot deal with books. I love reading in general, but I
Yes.
cannot deal with looking at diagrams and pictures and this is how you move the card. I cannot do that. I will not want to read it. I could read a book on magic theory maybe, but I cannot do those. Usually magicians learn through books like Tarbell, and if you hear that word, you could just probably say Tarbell and a magician will think you're a magician. I don't know, I guess. But
Wow.
I don't use that.
I'm using
'cause I
it at
don't
my next
use-
cocktail
There you go.
party.
Yeah.
So just say, oh, do you know Tarbell? And then, name a list of volumes or something. It'll work. Anyways, as a kid, I did not actually have access to a magic kit. I also did another In Conversation a few months ago, and it was on foster care, and I ended up in a different situation. Our family was a little too poor for that, and I actually started off as a magician, as a musician, my bad, and I played the double bass. My maestro, Thomas Hartman, who's the orchestra director of Yorktown High School, he did teach at Arlington Science Focus. He was at Williamsburg Middle School at one point, but he was at so many, Swanson as well, so many middle schools in Arlington.
Wow.
He's really good. I highly recommend him. So I guess go to a public school then, yay.
Yeah,
There
amen.
you go.
Hooray for public schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, he had taught me how to handle the stage. Even though I was usually in the back playing a huge instrument, I was still very happy being on stage. And I think all of us as performers would have to believe that when we do our craft, we do come away, or anyone who does at one point seek out the craft, they always go away with some sort of confident stage presence. It's something that all of us have in common when we perform. You have to have a stage presence, this confidence that you get from all of the experience you get on the stage. But anyways, how I got into magic was one of the friends of a foster family I was staying with named Mark Carrion. He had introduced me to magic, and he had showed me like a coin vanish, and he basically did a sleight where he ditched the coin somewhere, but he used a pen for misdirection to point at the coin.
I love that trick.
Yes.
And that was very good. Handed me a few Card College volumes, which is also another name for a few other books. That is a book I can deal with diagrams, but other than that, no. But
First and last.
Yeah, see, and first and last. But you see, when you first get into magic, and at the age I'm only 20 right now, but like when you're in high school / middle school, freshman, high school, there you go. Let's go with that. When you're there and you did have an interest in magic, because there's America's Got Talent and all that, and all those other things, having magic on TV.
Also, a side note, America's Got Talent last season, I think a magician
Yeah, 2 seasons.
actually had one. Was it 2?
Shin Lim, the Asian magician,
Yes,
right? He's
yes.
so cool.
Oh, yes.
He was awesome, so I just had to. You pointed that out.
He's amazing, isn't he?
He's amazing, and maybe you will be.
Oh
the
no!
next,
You see, there
next
were
winner.
2 winners of
Yeah.
America's Got Talent.
Sorry, I
Matt Franco,
interrupted, but-
Matt Franco and Shin Lim both won America's Got
Yeah.
Talent. But after Shin Lim, you have to top what he's doing before you.
By the
Yeah.
way,
No.
I hired Matt Franco when he was, I think 15 at the time.
Oh,
Neat.
I see.
Yes, for Magic Convention.
So he's not kidding when he's like, "Oh, I've done all those college parties late at night, and he's dying, and he overworks as a magician before you."
Where maybe he is kidding a little bit is to say that he's completely self-taught. He's not.
I think that's Shin Lim who says he's self-taught. He says he's self-taught. He learns everything online,
Yes.
and I'm like, how's that possible? No. But I would have to say, Shin Lim, who did win America's Got Talent, he's a very good performer. He's amazing. Got carpal tunnel, and then
Yes.
he got another issue with his thumb or something, and he had stitches. Oh, horrible. But
It sounds rough.
he's a terrible teacher, though. I'm sorry, Shin, if you're watching this one day. I don't know. I don't think he's a very good teacher. I've purchased a lot of material from him, and it's very much like what I'm doing, misdirecting towards something else. Rather than teaching a certain move, you would rather go and say, "Oh, I learned it from this. I can't remember where it's from, and I'm not going to tell you what YouTube video I saw it on." All right.
So,
next thing.
so speaking of a move, can you show us a little bit of
I
magic?
can
Because
show
I
you a little
understand
bit of
that,
magic,
that the
too.
cameras are set.
Yeah, the
for-
cameras are set
for
that.
magic.
I could talk about more story too. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, got it.
Let's see
I don't know. We could just describe this bag real quick. This is
Yeah, it looks
very
like a nice
It's
bag.
a very nice bag. It's a red bag. I mean, how would you describe this as a very nice bag?
I feel
It's been sewn,
like it
of course,
has the bright colors that kind of remind me of like New Mexico or.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
This is just magician patter to keep talking while.
I like it though.
Yeah.
That's good.
How would you
It's a good
describe the
bag.
inside of this here?
Pure red.
Pure red. Is it
Yeah.
still a nice little beauty there? It's a pure red bag.
I like the other side better.
You like the other side better?
Yeah.
Okay, so while I'm just misdirecting for the time being, back to what
You're
I
not
was
supposed to tell us you're misdirecting,
Well,
are you?
this is part of my style, and that's why I believe that a good conversation between Phil and I would be, well,
interesting.
our times are different. What's a magician in your time compared to what a magician is, I guess, currently?
Actually, you'd find them surprisingly alike.
Alike?
I would believe you,
because
yes.
I'd happen to think Houdini looks completely different from us. I would assume the way
Okay.
we dress, we do less stage huge illusions.
Interesting.
In my opinion, unless you talk about David Copperfield or
David Blaine. or-
David Blaine, yeah, he's doing cars or something.
Yeah.
But anyways, going back to the bag, we remember the inside of the bag, or the outside of the bag more like, right? You want to please describe to me the bag once more.
Oh my goodness! I thought that it was striped with like
Like
with,
Mexico?
yeah, New Mexican.
I mean, this looks
it
like
reminded
could
me
be-
of New Mexico.
This could be
but
like, I don't know, a cotton field farm. I have no clue. But
that
I mean,
looks to me more like a juggler's bag,
This
or a
looks more
quilt.
like a misdirection, in my
Like a
opinion.
background.
or
Yeah.
a clown bag.
It is a clown bag, yes.
Yeah.
It's like a clown car. Do you recall
Yeah.
what happens in a clown car?
A lot of things come out of it. Lots of
Yeah,
clowns.
out
in
of
fact,
nowhere,
usually.
right?
Yeah,
And-
there's
and-
usually 20 inside a beetle.
And you're like,
You know?
where? And you're like, where does that come from? And,
Yeah.
I mean,
you're like, is there a trap door underneath the beetle?
is there a sewer
I don't
lid
know.
or something?
Yeah, it
right?
could be.
Yeah,
Who
and
knows?
at this point, I'd be talking about more misdirection. Like, describe to me how the bag looked like, and like what the inside of the bag was. Like,
Oh, it was red the last time.
no.
The-
Remember, it was still yellow.
Oh
It was still
goodness,
yellow
it
at
was
that
yellow,
time.
right.
Don't forget.
I have a very short attention span, but I didn't know it was this bad.
Are you sure it was a red bag?
I'm
believe
pretty
it was-
sure. Do you guys think it was a red bag?
I don't
It
know.
was.
We're gonna have to
Yeah,
rewatch
it was,
it.
yeah.
And then
We're
there
gonna
was
get
like
a-
the striped red.
I think it was just
Yeah.
a blue bag with yellow in
Yeah.
it. I think if they
It was
want to
blue
find
with
out, they have
yellow.
to watch the video again. More
Apparently,
views than
yes.
that, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
So don't forget when we go
Oh, wow.
put this bag inside out,
Yes.
we'll be happy. But anyways,
Good gracious, it's now yellow and blue.
the
I
red,
know
white,
I'm not
blue.
colorblind.
Look at a sea
Oh, that
theme.
would be
I-
unfortunate.
You're seeing yellow too?
I am
Yeah.
seeing
We
yellow.
have a sea theme.
There you go.
A
Perfect
sea
for
theme.
the summer.
a beautiful
It could
sea
be.
theme. Now that looks like
yes.
something from North
And I feel
Carolina.
like the rain's
Yep.
letting up too
It is.
for a little bit.
Because all the water's on the bag.
Yeah, but don't forget the final thing. The inside of this bag is blue.
Of
Yes.
course,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course
and-
it
and
is.
apparently
Why
there's
would
a-
it not be?
Yeah, well,
There's a zipper too.
And see, with the changing of the blue, of course, more rain comes down.
Of course.
Oh, you should change it back to yellow.
Oh well, or I could reveal to you what's the inside of this bag. I mean,
Yeah.
What's inside there?
There's a zipper here.
Is it a clown?
Oh no, there's nothing in here. Just kidding. I have a nice deck of cards here. I will need to open this up, so one moment. Let me just get this out here.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, you didn't
That's
expect
quite
that coming
no,
out.
I did not expect a slit switchblade.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're legal in Virginia, not in DC, though.
Oh, is that right?
Really?
You couldn't do this trick in DC.
It cannot be concealed, which is what I'm doing currently. So I have
That's
to.
kind of the point of the magic.
Yes.
Oopsies. So I'll just leave it right there, and I guess we could do a card trick for later, but I don't know. Phil could possibly show us something.
Ooh,
like
that sounds good.
But
Yeah,
that's the conclusion of this trick.
That was
very nice.
fabulous.
Yes, very good.
I like
I
it.
would usually do that when I'm on stage performing and doing an MC bit, just talking about how everyone's doing, as more of a breaking the ice between the audience and the other performers
Loosen
as a
everyone
break.
up.
Yes, because
Yeah.
while I'm talking, there
That's
you go.
right. Magic and wine.
Yeah.
Tipsy tricks.
Truly.
Tipsy tricksters.
Tipsy tricksters.
Now is
We're all
there?
gonna have a combined
I
business
know.
one day.
Now I'm also very curious about how. What's the toughest situation we've been in as performers? I
Oh, that is a good question.
Yeah, I mean, so if talking about experiences performing, what's some memorable stuff? It could be very difficult, or it could have just been, oh man, I really liked how this person reacted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone would like to share about
I
their.
perform a lot for young people.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like often at the farmers market, my general draw is between 3 and 7, you know?
Kids, yeah.
I'm really big among 3 to 7-year-olds. If they meet me out on the street, they're like, whoa, it's the
They love
Jazzy
you.
Juggler. Yeah. But anyway, the parents can be a challenge because they sometimes don't realize that juggling a bowling ball and a knife might be dangerous, you know? And the
Yeah.
parents see you up
Yes.
there and they're like, this person is a performer and they will
Time to
take
go.
care of my child while I go off and shop.
Oh,
Yeah.
horrors.
And then,
Yes.
you know, honestly, I often am totally cool with that if their child knows how to behave and whatnot. But if their child, say, is still crawling, you know, probably not a good idea to leave the child with me.
And a bowling ball.
And I have had a child crawl into my trick
Into your
and
purple zone,
underneath
purple circle.
my juggling pattern while I was juggling a bowling ball.
Okay.
And
Challenge.
I have to call for parental security at that
Yeah.
point.
I mean, you know, that's why you have performers insurance or something like that, right? And
Of
hopefully,
course, yeah, that's right.
you don't want to have to call it in for something like that.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Yeah, so that's my most challenging. How about you?
Some of the parents.
Do you get that a lot?
Well, it's funny. I think kind of going back to like the most challenging thing that kind of we were talking about earlier was people having the confidence to do it, right? Just the
Right.
challenge of, oh no, I'm not going to come to a class because I've never taken tap. That's the people we want, right? Like those are the people who you want to come.
Yeah.
Is even if you don't have any experience. So I think just with regards to the Tipsy Tappers, like I said, I think that biggest challenge is the fear of the unknown, right? So people don't know what they're getting into. They've never tapped, they've never danced before, right? And they have, as anyone would be, if I were to go take a juggling class or a magician or a magic class, I'd be fearful, right? I'd be a little
Sure.
uneasy. It's a little daunting at times, right? But I think having the biggest challenge is to make them feel comfortable, right?
That's right.
Absolutely.
And I think we all can kind of relate to that in our talent and art. Is just making you feel comfortable. Walking in the class, having the energy, having the excitement, having them come in. And then I always say bring friends too, right? Because that just, having someone and not kind of being a lone soul. We love those people who come too, but that way they just feel more comfortable. So
That's true.
I would say that's maybe a challenge that kind of just came to the top of my head is giving people the confidence and, the excitement that, you know what, I can
Yeah.
do this, right? And even if it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be, as long as you're
Yeah.
there for some fun and to try something new, and of course take pictures and post it on Instagram, and people absolutely love it.
Definitely.
No, it doesn't have to be a
Cool.
challenging thing. It could just be a really amazing experience you've had. Is there
Yeah.
a time when you were tap dancing and there was at a big event, or you just really liked tap dancing and there were a lot of people who showed, or family was there?
Yeah, so I have to say, I'm trying to think, probably one of the best moments that I had, and it actually is going to relate exactly to what I was talking about. We had like a Mother's Day class, right? So last year it was during May. So we normally try and do like fun themes. Like we had like Bourbon and Boys, right? So we encouraged some of the guys to come. We had
Wow.
a Mother's Day class. We do like fundraisers. Yeah.
So
I
did
don't
the
know.
boys also have to bring bourbon, or
They
I
can,
mean,
yeah,
because
why
I was
not?
gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
girls,
sign me
I
up
don't
if
know.
I don't
Yeah.
need to bring the bourbon.
It's awesome. So, and we have, we do different, like, fundraisers too, right? So I had a couple friends who work for St. Jude or Relay for Life or things like
neat.
that. So we kind of collaborate. But I think the best moment, kind of that you said, was watching a couple of these mothers, right? Have the, oh my gosh, this is so cool, right? That look on their face, because they come in, and this is not only moms, like anyone, but they come in, you can just tell they're a little timid, right? But they come in, and when I see them at the end of class shaking it and having fun,
That
and
they
lots
don't
of
get
smiles.
to have.
Exactly,
Yes, that's
and
true.
it was so
Yeah.
awesome. So I would just say, having those mothers specifically, just seeing the light on their face and the brightness in their eyes, that, oh my gosh, this is really cool. You don't have to
They have now left with an experience that they will probably never
absolutely,
forget.
and we actually traveled down to Blacksburg. We actually traveled to
Nice.
Blacksburg, and all the moms loved it.
That's
at
awesome.
Virginia Tech there, so it was really cool. So I got to go back at some point soon.
Got to get some of those
That's some
fathers
fun.
out too.
Yeah, Father's Day is coming up, right?
Yeah. What drink rhymes with fathers, or starts with F? I don't know.
Well, on a funny side note, I mean,
Oh, funny, duh, there you go.
on a really funny side note, back to my history with magic, I'm also a server, and I tend to identify more as a server who does magic rather than just a magician. My friends have more branched out to wanting to be full-on professional magicians. Like you're half a magician, you say, and the other half, well,
Yeah.
with the hair. Okay, no. Anyways, not too much on the performing side anymore, right? But
Right.
you do more of
Teaching.
the teaching and just trying to help tutor. I will perform. I have performed at the DC Comedy Draft House. I performed at the. My brain's not functioning. I performed in Richmond somewhere at this draft house too. But basically, my friend Christoph Jelinski has won DC Magician of the Year twice. He won this year as well. So I'm
I
happy
love
for
that
him.
award title, by the way.
Sounds
Decent Magician of the Year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for that next year.
Yeah, there you go. And then Tommy Halliday has a really huge following on Instagram. Brendan Carlisle, he does a lot of shows across the country. But back to that.
Yeah, your experience. What was
Serving.
your-
Yes. No
yeah.
need to talk about someone who's not here. I got it. Bourbon, yay! Anyone know what makes a bourbon a bourbon?
No.
No? Oh, okay. You just read the label and you say it's bourbon.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, there are three things that need to say a bourbon's a bourbon. Number one, it has to be American barrels, American everything, full on America. Number two, it has to have 51% corn mash.
Oh
mash
my.
is the recipe, and corn is very expensive.
And do you get asked this as a server?
Well, you could. You have to learn this.
I mean, geez.
What restaurant?
Get
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah, I'm not nearly picky enough with
Yeah.
my waiters.
You always are told that might happen one
Yes.
day, and
I'll come to the restaurant and ask.
There
and
you
it'll
go.
look good to the manager, and then yeah.
Of course.
And then the final thing is my brain must function. Yes. A bourbon must be barreled in an oak barrel for 2 years and 1 day, or it must be, if it's a straight bourbon, it must be 4 years or more. Blah blah.
Fascinating.
And there's a whole bunch more
Now
I
we
could go
know.
back into, and it will take a long time. But no,
I think
this
we're
stuff-
good.
We're good. We're good. We're talking about performing.
But
not-
yeah,
not
yeah,
serving.
yeah.
We'll stick with drinking it.
Yeah.
Just drink.
So what performing, like, what's one of your best experiences, either performing or seeing
Or
somebody
teaching,
go
or,
on
you know.
to do something amazing?
There are many. There are times that I really do not like being up on stage while I'm on stage.
Interesting.
One case that I'm sure you can relate to, I do not like it if I have to memorize a long list of steps or certain text, which I really don't do at all. But if it's a long list of steps, Cuba Libre. You're familiar with the effect, I'm sure. With that, you must do it
Or the trick doesn't come out
precisely.
right.
Exactly. And if you don't,
Which
you're
drink
dead.
are you talking about?
Cuba Libre.
No, I do not know. I'm so
okay.
dumb that I have no idea what some of these names are.
Cuba Libre is a drink. You could have.
Yes, it is.
I have no idea either. I mean,
All right.
yeah,
And you'll recognize it when I
maybe
describe
if you do
it.
the trick. Yeah.
If you can imagine, you have two tubes.
Yeah.
You have two sets of blocks. They're numbered blocks. And you throw all your cubes into one of the
They're all mixed up, and then
tubes.
Yeah.
You put them in a different order in this tube, lift up the tubes, they're all in the same order.
Right.
It's rearranged.
That's
That
amazing.
trick. I do
yeah.
know that trick.
Yes.
I just had no idea what that trick's called.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Now you do.
The alcohol name is something. It's something Libre.
The drink is
Libre.
better.
Libre.
The drink is
Rum and
actually
Coke.
better.
Okay.
Rum
But
and
that when I really dislike performing it, not only because of all of the memorization you have to do at the steps and be so precise with it, but also I've never found an interesting way of presenting it.
That's
So
the key.
to me,
And that's probably your
it's
biggest
going to
challenge,
be
too, right?
exactly. It's going to be boring for the audience. It's going to be boring for me.
Absolutely.
It's certainly not a kid's trick at that point.
Yeah.
A puzzle for adults, maybe, but that's about it.
Right.
On the upside, I love it when I hear a really good audience reaction. I can remember Sword Basket, you're familiar with, doing one of those on the beach in Pensacola, Florida. And in the middle of it, a woman in the audience screamed.
From Sword in a Basket.
That's fabulous.
Yes. From there on, her reactions were, no, this can't be, type of thing. And you like that.
That's the reaction you
You're
want.
like, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that's it.
keep going.
even more recent than that, I used to have a magic club of youth in Sterling, Virginia. We would go various places, libraries, hit the White House 3 times. We did 3 shows in one day at the McLean Community Center, not all that terribly far from here, for Halloween. Every performance, the opening illusion, 3-fold screen, disguised as something else, but still it was the 3-fold screen. We got a scream out of the audience whenever somebody appeared.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And going to that, I mean, do we as performers, for juggling, I'm not sure about tap dancing, but I'm pretty sure that, do we really need audiences to react, or or to have to do something when we're performing?
The weirdest performance I've ever given was for television cameras,
Yeah.
and there was no reaction. So
Yeah.
so it was like driving a bus blindfolded from
Yeah.
the back seat. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I definitely I feel like it's interesting what you said, that you consider yourself a waiter who's a magician.
Who can do magic? I'm
Yeah,
not
of course.
magician, but I
And I'm a teacher who's a juggler, you know, and it's interesting that because I sometimes teach juggling too, and for me, kind of relating back to what you said, creating a culture of error is really important, you know,
Oh, yeah.
And the first thing I do in every juggling class I teach is I have everybody pick up 3 balls, and then I have them drop them, and then everybody cheers. You know? And you're
Right.
like, if you can drop a ball and go forward, then you can learn how to juggle. You know.
Truly.
I like that.
So
That's something I feel like we all have in common is
Yeah.
you learn from your mistakes, right? And you get better for the future and
yeah,
try and perfect it as much as
Out
you
of
can and
cu-
have fun.
Out of
absolutely.
curiosity, what is it you teach?
I teach videography as well as exactly.
I was thinking maybe physics, physics. And
I sometimes teach
Yes.
physics in my juggling class because I
Right.
teach. I talk about this one trick where the club goes high in the air and falls down. I spin around and I stab it with the other 2 clubs, catching it by the handle. And I do this as the top club is accelerating towards the ground at 9.8 meters per second squared. So
There you go.
and I find that as a performer, it's good to get jokes that both the audience of young people as well as their parents will appreciate.
Actually,
I like that.
things like that can prove helpful in performance, in knowing how to perform. One of my degrees is in mathematics. Don't we often use mathematics with these?
We could.
Yeah.
It seems nowadays magicians like me don't use mathematics.
Yeah, I understand that fully.
And see, I believe it's also very much of a different change, in my opinion, is that there are a lot more. So, back to what I was talking about in my experience with magic too. Again, I keep going back to me encountering things. People have no idea how to get into magic most of the time. I think we're just like, go on YouTube, look up a few tricks. That's it. Where do you actually
horrible.
get material? Well, you could. Yeah, some is really good in my opinion, but there are most of them are really bad. Yes, and they're just like that's not how you hold it. How do you palm a coin? Anyways, when I first bought a magic trick, the pricing in Magic is very interesting. I mean, how much are tap shoes? I mean, I understand the shoes. How much are they usually going for?
You can. I'll tell you this. You can get some on Amazon for about $20.
Okay.
So that's like a cheap.
It's awesome.
It works.
Normal.
It works. Yeah. Because it's Amazon. It'll
We'll
work.
say that's an
standard.
average. Yeah.
And then the most
Just
expensive.
Oh, a couple hundred.
Okay.
Like if you really want.
If you were a performer Broadway, let's go do this.
Yeah.
All right.
A couple hundred. Yeah. Customize your foot,
Beautiful.
your width, your height.
Yep.
All right. And then you're juggling.
It depends. I mean,
you can juggle anything like an
you can
expensive
juggle
sword.
anything. Exactly. Anything from tennis balls to $30, $40 silicone balls,
Yes.
which I don't actually have because
But
why
juggling,
bother?
it's just good, right? I mean,
Tennis balls do the
it's
trick.
easy
Yeah,
to do
exactly.
it. It's not easy to do the juggling, but
The biggest barrier to getting involved is self-judgment, and which is true for Magic too. Like, I can't get it. We have to expect not to get it, and then we can get into whatever of these awesome activities that we all do.
yeah.